Hello, this is Jake B-Man with Golden Fox Farms. It is swarm season, and you're either already sick of the bees or you're excitedly waiting your first swarms. We are at peak swarm season here, so we have a number of swarms to show capturing. Now, this yard, like most of my yards, is managed for swarm control. You'll always have some amount of hives that just won't listen. They're going to launch swarms anyway. Also, this yard has some top bar hives. I really don't manage the top bar hives anymore. I just catch the swarms as they come off. This is a convenient apiary for me to catch the swarms when they occur. Now we'll go over 3 different techniques with my videos. One is a bucket technique for very low swarms that are easy and fast to box. And it's pretty painless. Another technique is we'll show shaking into a prepared box, and lastly we'll deal with these high ones. We'll use a bucket pull technique. We actually have 2 different ways to do that, and we'll examine both of them in the video ahead.
Alright, this is Jake B-Man with Golden Fox Farms. Today we're going to have this little swarm we're going to box. I witnessed this swarm come in, so I know it's a fairly recent one. It hasn't been sitting here that long. I'm still going to wear PPE because I'm trying to show you beekeepers it's safe and fine to wear PPE. What we'll do is we'll shake these into a prepared box. You want a box that has about 40 liters of capacity for this. That's their preference. So I always try to give them 40 liters of free space. And we have the setup down here I'm going to use. This is what we're going to shake the colony into. This is a nuc box. The bottom has been attached using hive staples. So I can move this as an independent piece. I'll shake the bees into this, then place this on the ground, and then I'll put this on top. This will give me 40 liters of space. In the top box, I've got 1 drawn comb. This is going to be where your queen starts laying immediately. And I have 4 frames of foundationless that's wired. That way, we maintain that 40 liters of space with the exception of whatever this comb's taking up. So they should be pretty happy with that arrangement. Also, I'm just going to leave them on the ground where I catch them today because I'm going to move them to a different apiary when I'm done. Since they're drawing foundationless, you want them fairly vertically oriented, fairly level. That way they're not going to build anything crooked in the meantime that I'm waiting to get these moved. In a couple of days, I want to get frames in this bottom box, but you have a little bit of time before you need to do that, so I just don't bother with it at first. That way I can just shake the bees in, slam it all together. I don't need to fidget frames in this box to do it. Occasionally you will shake a swarm that's mean. Quite often these are what they would call dry swarms, swarms that flew out and got stuck. They're low on calories at that point and they get hangry like we do. Also, sometimes if you find a swarm, they might have been there for a bit. And when that happens, they can draw a comb and they're very defensive when you try to shake them off a comb. I've got my heavy duty ladder here sitting relatively level so I'm not going to fall off into outer space. Now this branch is a little big for shaking, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do it. If it was too large altogether, I could use a bee brush to get these girls in. But I really avoid the bee brush unless I have to use it. So I'm going to position this in a spot that makes sense for me and shake the dickens out of them. Now that got most but not all the bees in. Came with a free branch. We'll put this box on top before they can all disappear. And that's when I'll realize I forgot to grab a lid. So I'll grab a lid off of this hive. With them being as close as they are to the mother swarm, generally speaking, they're going to scent enough for those bees to realize they're down here. So we'll just ignore these for about an hour and see what we have after. Now this is the bees fanning at the entrance of that nuc we shook them into. They're releasing a scent called the Nasanov scent. It's their attractant scent. It smells like lemongrass. That brings all the other girls in. We have some number of bees that stayed with the tree branch. That's not unheard of. We could stand here and smoke them to displace them, but I really don't think it's going to be necessary with this one just because they weren't there that long. We'll give them a little time. Okay, true to form with beekeeping, it didn't work. The swarm didn't stay in the box. They moved back up there. We were working bees in the apiary while that happened, so we were productive and doing stuff, but we still have to try to box these girls. What I'm going to do differently this time, because I'm happy with the box I put them in, is I'm going to smoke that branch afterwards. I'm going to paint that branch with smoke so it hides their pheromone and their scent to that branch. I'll kind of make it disappear from their sensory organs, so the only spot that'll have nasonoff and attractant scents will be the swarm in my box below. We're going to set the swarm catch box up the same exact way. Last time we did this, we saw a virgin queen run out of the front entrance and go back in. So we're going to watch for a minute and see if we can snatch her. If she shows up, if we can snatch her, we'll park her inside the hive and we know she's in there, and that'll encourage the bees to stay as well. We admittedly don't know if there's more than one virgin in here because it's a swarm of virgin queens. They can have several queens with them. Same routine as before. Get most of them in the box. For whatever reason, this year's been marked. There she is. Okay, I have at least one of the virgin queens. And just so y'all can see the rest of her, that's a queen all right. And I don't know if there's more than one of her, but I know I got that one. I'm gonna eyeball just because I can. I don't see another one. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take her and just shove her into that comb. That'll bring the bees up to this in the hive. I'll have to remember to get in here and let her out in a day. But that'll be more inclined to keep these bees with her. So I don't crush a bunch of girls, I'm gonna flip them on in. Alrighty. And she's still where I put her. I'll put that lid back on. I'm going to take my smoker, I'm going to paint the heck out of that branch. This is called displacing. Smoke can do several things for you. Like light smoking makes the bees docile, it confuses their alarm system. Heavy smoking moves them, runs them, shakes them off. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to make this branch untenable for those that remain. So the girls that are flying around don't smell this branch, but they'll smell the nasonoff coming from that swarm below. And sometimes you got to do this for a while. I can hear all the bees flying in the air around me. I've seen people use Vigo for this, or Bee Quit excluder bee removal products. You just have to make sure you don't hit the bees directly with it. We'll give that a minute and I'll re-smoke that branch here in a sec. That was dumb luck spotting that queen in there. She just had a bright orange bud on her. And just kind of, this seems like a insignificant thing. I left the smoker upwind and high. Where that smoker, she's kind of running on her own to an extent, so she'll keep casting smoke up into this tree. It's not a lot, but it's enough to keep them from hanging out of it. Ooh.
They don't seem to be gathering back up there.
Yeah, that smoke trick works pretty dang well. Now the longer they're there, Steve, go ahead and come in and see this. The longer they're there, the more they're going to print this branch. You can see these little white spots. That is in fact wax. Swarms are ready to produce wax pretty much on contact with whatever they're flying to. That's why they can build combs so fast once they're established. But they'll start putting this wax on the branch. So this branch is pretty well scented, so that's why we have to put so much smoke into this thing to keep them from coming back to it. Now this was the branch they were on.
And there's a few.
And there's a few. There's always going to be a few unless you're still hitting them with that smoker. But I don't see a queen with them or anything. Most of them are down here. So that's probably going to take just fine. I'll paint that with the smoker one or two more times as I wrap stuff up here today. But that one's good. All right, now we have a large swarm in this tree, but it's a little high to just go up and get it. So we're going to use this thing instead. This is a bucket mounted on a fiberglass pole, so I can smack bees into this, or I can put frames into this and use it as a queen phone. I usually go for smacking bees just because it's faster and it usually works. So we'll attempt that and see how it goes. Same routine as before. We'll attempt to get them in the box. We'll get as many in the box as practical, and then we will give it some time to see what actually happens. See if they go back to the tree or if they stay inside. If we see the queen, we'll box her, we'll cage her, but I doubt we'll see the queen. So what I'm going to do is take this. I'm going to try to put it under as many bees as I can. This swarm's a little bit wider than this bucket is, so I'm not going to get them all, but I can get most of them. So I have it kind of where they're at. What I'm going to do is give it a shock up to knock the bees off the branch and into my bucket. Then I'm going to direct the bucket into the open box I have below that's going to receive them. Absolutely wear your jacket during this. You can see a lot of bees weren't able to get in that bucket just because the bucket's only so wide. If the queen's in that, they're going to end up reassembling up there. We'll give them some time to get their bearings back and recluster on that branch, and then we'll give them another pop and shove them into this box, and then we'll let it sit. And just in case Queenie's down here, I'm going to look for her. Good news is if the queen hits the ground, usually there'll be a clump of bees that accompany her, so it's usually pretty obvious. This is all workers. Alright, so with luck she's in there. Now if you look at that box, they're scenting very strongly at the entrance of that box. They're announcing to the other bees, this is where we're at. Now we still have some number of bees up there. They're still reassembling themselves, so we'll give them a little more time, and then we'll go ahead and pop them, chuck them in, and then we'll give it that 1 hour wait to see what we have afterwards. They're fanning pretty righteously, and I got most of them. That might do it. Okay, with that first bump, we really got a lot of the bees in there. They're scenting at the front door. It looks pretty successful. We still have a good amount of bees up there, but they're kind of spread out where we're not going to be able to bump the majority into the bucket anymore. So what we're going to do is a different approach this time. We're going to take the bucket pole with a frame in it. This is a frame of drawn comb. This one has a little bit of honey on it, so it should be pretty dang attractive to them. And we're just going to wedge that up there with them to encourage those bees on that branch to amass on this comb. So in 30 minutes or so, we can hopefully ease this to the ground and install it in that hive. Now I do think I have to adjust my pole because it's not the right length right now. Looks like I need 3 more feet or so. That's probably more than I need, but I'll use it to wedge this pole into the ground. Let's see what we get. That bucket does have a lot of weight. You ease it down over the box so bees fall. They fall onto or into where we want them anyway. You can see how many bees are on and in this thing. This does work fairly well. It's just a slow way to do it. I'll eyeball for a queen just in case. Now let's see her. That's not a surprise really. I really think we got the queen with the first drop in. Just gonna ease it on in. You hear them making some noise of approval. Now I got a good number of bees in this bucket still. I'm gonna give them a shake in as well. Again, just looking for the queen real quick. And we'll get that lid on before too many fly away. And reset it. Alrighty, we'll let it run.
All right, it's getting towards the end of the day. So it's time to finish up what we're doing here. This is our second attempt at the queen throne with this one, but it's time to call it. So we're going to ease this down, install that frame in the hive like we did before, and then we're going to do one final bump and pour, and that's going to be it. We'll find out tomorrow if this is successful or not, but at a certain point you have to kind of go with it and move on with your life. I'm going to eyeball for a queen while I'm here. I do not see one, so I'll go ahead and install this. Get my frames justified because this is the last time I'm getting into this box for a while. I'm going to eyeball the bucket for the queen. Don't see her. Not really surprised at that. Now we're going to do our last bumps. We're going to shake the bees off of this pole into the hive. Hopefully most of them will go down. I need to shorten this thing before I bump it. Alrighty. And so I don't crush anybody, I'm going to put this lid cattywampus. And that'll be enough to keep them inside for the most part. In a few minutes, I'll ease that lid flat. And if we got most of the bees down as of now, I think we're going to be in a good spot. They're scenting at that lid that I've left cattywampus open. Let's have a picture of that. I'll let the bees march in for about another half hour, but then I'll get the smoker out and push them in and be done with it. The last technique we'll do is the bucket capture. This is for easily shaken swarms in the apiary. You want to move the bees to a hive stand somewhere else. I'm going to drop these bees into a 5-gallon bucket. We're beekeepers. We all have 5-gallon buckets. I'm going to chuck a lid on there, and then I'm going to take them to the prepared hive. In this case, we're going to drop them into an empty double deep. And the deep on top we're going to lay down afterwards has a bunch of drawn frames and food frames that I really didn't feel like moving to the swarm. And that's part one. We get our hive prepared, we get all put together. Then we're going to go back and shake the remainder bees, because there's always a mass of bees that reassembles. No matter how swift you are, you never capture all of them or they fly off while you're working. So I'm going to ease this reassembled clump into the bucket, give them a good proper shake, slap all the bees in I can, put that lid back on. I'm going to go back to that hive that I installed the first half into. I'm going to place this bucket at the entrance with the lid cattywampus. What this will facilitate is the bees in that bucket will come up to the lid and smell the hive behind them. And they'll march in under their own accord without me having to open that box back up and having a bunch of bees fly back out and kind of perpetuating the cycle. This works fairly well. You do need to watch and make sure you don't have the bees assemble underneath the hive, which I have had happen before. And here with the fast vision, you can see how they're just all marching on in anyway. With this video, we've examined a couple different swarm capturing techniques. Always wear appropriate PPE when doing these collections. That way you stay out of trouble. Equally, stay on the ground whenever it's practical. There's a number of beekeepers who have received life-changing injuries having falls during swarm capture attempts. So stay safe, Good luck and happy beaking.
I know what you're thinking. Big swarm. Why'd they come back? Well, they're not going to go anywhere without her, are they?